What's going on, everybody? Off the top rope here, off the Mike Sports Network. So the 6th-year anniversary show for Dynamite from Hollywood, Florida, not from Hollywood, California, where I'm close to. They're in Florida. They're going to be in Jacksonville next week, which is fitting that they just passed the 6 year. This show was whatever, but we did have some news. This show did not go by without something significant happening. Andrade. Remember him? The guy who was literally in WWE at SummerSlam not 2 months ago and was, for the lack of a better term, there's a lot of mysterious reporting going on about what happened to Andrade near the end of his run in WWE, but he was fired. And there was a lot of murmurs in the background that could he possibly go back to AEW, because a lot of people were like, oh, it didn't end so great for him. He got into a fight with Sammy Guevara. He wasn't getting booked very well, but by all accounts, like in the immediate aftermath of Andrade being let go by WWE, a lot of stuff came out specifically on the AEW side of this that Tony Khan was very complimentary of Andrade, and that he could potentially be brought back if the situation was right. And apparently the situation was right after a big old party match. Kenny Omega and Brodito teaming up against Josh Alexander and the Young Bucks. Kenny Omega seemingly talking to the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks, basically aren't listening. And then, Josh Alexander attacks Kenny Omega. Jurassic Express shows up to run off the Young Bucks. And then Kenny Omega gives a speech about 6 years. He thanks everybody, does his catchphrase. The lights go out, and a man in a mask shows in the ring. And the second, once you see the long hair and you see the mask, that it is Andrade. And here, let me read you guys the timeline here, because first of all, given the timeline, it's way crazier than when you put into context what has happened and like how this has played out. So let me read you guys the timeline. So in March of 2021, right before WrestleMania 37, Andrade left WWE. On June 4th of that year, so about a little less than 3 months later, he's in AEW showing up on television as, stuff is starting to open back up and the pandemic. December 30th, 2023, right after World's End, he had a match with Miro. Funny that Miro is back in WWE as Rusev. Andrade leaves the AEW December 30th of 2023. January 27th, 2024, he shows up in the Royal Rumble. September 13th of this year, he leaves WWE. So that was legitimately, a couple Saturdays ago? Like, seriously, he legitimately left WWE 2 weeks ago, because on October 1st, at the time of this recording, he is back in AEW. This, if you look at that in a time capsule of what has happened in the last 4 years with this guy, this is the first guy maybe in the history of known man, and maybe the only person ever that will ever start in WWE, go to AEW, and then go or start in WWE, go to AEW, go back to WWE, and then go back to AEW. Now, how they brought him back is kind of impactful. It's like, yeah, cool. You bring back Andrade and you have him attack Kenny Omega. Cool. Here's a couple of problems here. Like, it's a cool program, and I think that'll be a fabulous match at Wrestle Dream. I'm assuming that's where they're going to set this up. Couple issues here. Couple of big issues here. Let's start with the Andrade's. Well, let's start off with the big issue for me. That's not even Andrade related. It's nothing against Andrade, but Kenny Omega got ridden off of television for a month and missed the pay-per-view because Kyle Fletcher put him through a table with a brain buster. You would think Kenny Omega would be out for blood and going after Kyle Fletcher, but that's not happening. Andrade's coming in. Some people say, oh, it's a roadblock. But Kenny Omega did not show any urgency going after Kyle Fletcher at all. At all. Other big issue, which leads into the bigger, broader point, Andrade's back in AEW, and he's a heel. AEW has no baby faces whatsoever. They also don't really, maybe he's getting groomed potentially because they maybe need some heels to potentially challenge Hangman because they got nobody. But they need baby faces too. Swerve's not there. Osprey's not there. Like Darby Allin's mixed up with the Death Riders. Like we've got so they make him a heel, and then they do maybe the worst possible thing that you could do for a debuting heel in AEW. Put him in the Don Callis family and the 17 other members that they have. As great as Andrade is, as great as he is, his English is not good. And I like that. And the one thing I do like about this is Don Callis, for as much as people don't like him, guy's a good mouthpiece. The guy can talk for him, and that'll be good. Here's the problem, and here's the big issue. This guy, Andrade, no matter how good he is in the wrestling ring and how good he is there, you are behind Fletcher, who is younger, and they are clearly setting up for big things, even though they set him up to fail and had him lose at the pay-per-view. So you're already behind him in that group. You're already behind Takeshita, whose English isn't great, but clearly they see something in him, and they've been booking him, and they're going to clearly turn him babyface very, very soon. Then you got Okada, who is like the dream man for Tony Khan, who loved watching him in New Japan, and he's now the unified champion. So they're not doing that. You've got Josh Alexander, and then the rest of these guys are the job squad. So basically, the way I look at this is Andrade's no better than Josh Alexander. And Josh Alexander could speak perfect English. So you gave him a mouthpiece, but you put him in a group with 17 other people. So it's like the new world order. I was stumbling through it. It's basically the NWO 25 years ago. What happened with that faction? They put too many people in it, and people could not get over. And this is a major cop-out because it's like, hey, you need a mouthpiece, but now you're putting him in a group that keeps adding members. Hell, they added another member literally 30 minutes later. They added another member with, the hologram clone, El Clon, joining the Don Callis family as well. So, listen, I wish Andrade well. I think he's an incredibly talented wrestler. He's got one of the great moves that I've seen in wrestling. You guys have heard me talk about it here on the show, the spinning back elbow. It should be a finisher. It's not, but, he's an incredible worker. Really polished in the ring. Everything he does looks effortless. It's really fun to watch him perform. But his English hasn't gotten any better. Clearly, he's a problem. And I don't see any way that this is going to be any different from his run in from his 2 runs in WWE and his previous run in AEW. I don't see how this is going to be any different. So everybody, first of all, a lot of AEW fans are deleting a lot of tweets, or, because a lot of people probably bookmarked this from 2 weeks ago, because there's a bunch of people who were running their fucking mouth when Andrade left to go to WWE. Now that he's back and he's on your side, it's all of a sudden okay, cool. Listen, again, like I said, I've got nothing against Andrade. I'm going to root for this guy. I think he's an insanely talented performer. Now, if he opens his mouth and turns into, somebody like a dipshit like Ricochet, or some of these other people who get on the internet after leaving WWE and start to trash them, who knows? Like I said, this is going to all fall at AEW. And I think at a certain point, it's got to become he kind of has an issue with the way he's booked, and the way that he got booked here. He's been set up to fail from day one. You're not going to be successful in the Don Callis family in the long run. You've got 3 people ahead of you in your own group. Pretty soon Takeshita will probably be out of there, but where does Andrade really slide in here? If we're being honest, the guy doesn't speak any English, and Fletcher is clearly the guy that they are looking at long-term as one of the faces of this company. 26 years old. They put him in a main event against Hangman. It's just, to me, like I said, a cool moment with a nice idea behind it, but then you put him in the Don Callis family, and that's not going to help him at all, outside of the fact that he's got a guy to talk for him. So that's the way I look at this. Like I said, neat surprise. I mean, I kind of expected it. I maybe didn't expect it to happen this quickly. But Andrade's back in AEW. I don't think it's gonna like really light the world on fire like a lot of people are gonna let it out to be. But hey, here we are. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.